So give me a quick overview of what your life was like before you met me and how your marriage was.
Yeah, it's an interesting. Going back probably about 6 to 8 months ago, I was quite uncertain about the future in my marriage. I wanted another child. I knew deep in my heart that that was probably not going to be possible, just because my marriage was not strong enough.
But you wanted the child.
But I was so hurt and yearning for another child.
Okay. So how long had it been like that in your relationship?
So I can say probably 12 months, going on 5 years. So
Oh dear.
12 months I kind of realised things were really on the rocks,
Okay.
but it's been in denial for, I would say, 5 years.
So when did you realize you were in denial?
Well, on our anniversary date, everything came to a head. So then I realised that there was a lot of different situations I had overlooked.
So it was in hindsight that you realized that there had been a detachment emotionally for
Yes.
maybe up to 5 years.
Yeah.
So when you were at that stage of that anniversary, what was it like? How were you feeling? Did you have niggles? How would you describe your sense of being in the relationship?
Well, I was confronted by an outside caller
Ah, yes.
who referred to my husband having an affair. So that was something unavoidable. I had to address that. And it really made me think about what was happening and really made me look at the relationship.
Did you believe this person that called you?
No, well, in the first instant, I was laughing. Thought it was a
Really?
joke.
Yeah.
And then when I hung up, a few things started falling into place. And my mind started connecting the dots, and I actually realised that there was something drastically wrong.
Okay, so you didn't think there was an affair, but you thought, hang on, our relationship
on.
isn't as good as I thought it was.
Yep.
Okay. This
All right.
anniversary, what happened? How did that become the realization that things weren't right? Is that when you confronting him about the phone call?
Yes, well, on the anniversary, because I can't leave something like that unaddressed, immediately I called you.
Yes, I do recall that. Yes.
With some crisis counselling, because I didn't know the steps forward. I didn't know how to raise this issue. I didn't know how to prepare for the answer or the different scenarios. So I was in crisis management and very stressed and very confused.
Yeah, so what had you reach out to me in particular? Why me?
Because I'd spoken to you earlier about my struggles, and you were very caring and understanding, and actually questioned some of my perceptions around needing to have another child. I felt comfortable with you, and actually when I called you and you started asking me some pretty deep questions, I realised that I hadn't even considered a lot of these questions and what my rules were, what my deal breakers were, and what I would be comfortable with and what I would not accept. Because my initial thoughts were going in there quite aggressively and demanding an answer, but the way we reframed it was much more allowing him to open up rather than putting up barriers and giving him an opportunity to step into the conversation. Which is also, whichever way it went, I think is a much better way of addressing something as sensitive as that.
Yeah, and it's a big accusation, and
Yeah.
tact is required to get
Yeah.
closer to the truth, because, as you know, defenses aren't going to get any closer to the reality.
Yeah.
So what were you expecting? We got through that crisis stage, and then you decided to do one of my programs.
Yes.
So what were you expecting either from that crisis or the program? What did you think you were signing up for working with me?
I knew it was going to be a long road of rebuilding myself.
Right.
My identity as a wife had been ripped away in a sense, and I felt I was very lost, and I didn't know who I was, and I knew that I needed clarity and I wanted closure. So the first stage was I really wanted closure on whatever this was, whichever way it was going to go, and I wanted to do the work with you to understand how to have these conversations and how to step through the process.
And just to be clear, there wasn't adultery, and that wasn't actually the breakup. That wasn't the cause of it, but it started other discussions that clearly need to be had of 5 years of disconnect.
Yeah.
But what were you expecting from me? What did you think the sessions or consults would be like?
I honestly haven't had much counselling before, so I was quite open. I liked the fact that there was no pigeonhole in any area, so I was open to making my own decisions and just being guided through the process.
Yeah.
The more I worked with you, the more I realised there was so much more to getting back to myself, and also how I can rebuild other relationships in my life.
Yeah, sometimes it's opening Pandora's box.
Yeah.
But was that difficult or overwhelming, or how did you find that process of you scratch the surface and you find more? How did you find that?
It was really good actually, because I realised then that actually all relationships were suffering.
Right.
So it wasn't just fixing the marriage or fixing myself. I realised that there was actually a bigger issue behind all of this, and that's allowed me to start rebuilding some key relationships in my life.
Yeah, and I think that's a hidden benefit, really.
Yes,
is you can take these tools and apply them to anybody who's important in your life. You can, and even work colleagues and such in the workplace. So how did you find the process and the journey from that confusion and chaotic thoughts, and how did you find the whole process?
Honestly, the intensive sessions were I always looked forward to because we would break through a barrier of some sort. I would end up crying, understanding myself, reconnecting, and really digging deep into some issues. There was a lot of reframing of things that were setting me off, or perceptions I had. So it was very inspirational, deep, and really quite enjoyable at the end of the day.
So was it hard? So you said you look forward to the sessions. Why?
Yes.
You're saying it sounds like a contradiction.
No. They were intensive, but they were, I remember leaving the sessions thinking, wow, I've just rediscovered something of myself, or now I've got a tool I can go and use in my life that I know I can use over and over. Now I've learned a new technique. Now I have a different thought process. And I've even challenged a lot of my family to step into more conversation. So it really has rebuilt me as a person.
So how are things now with your ex? You said it was 8 months ago.
Yep.
So you've gone through the whole program, and there's been a break in between since we've actually stopped working.
Yes.
So that's been about 4 months now.
Yep.
So how have things been since in that period?
Great. So before the sessions, we were barely on speaking terms. Very much estranged friends and very little conversation. Now we are amicable. We have the best connection, as in we can have a good conversation. We sit down weekly and discuss our family arrangements. It's very much like closer friends now, and we've been able to do this without negotiation or mediation.
You mean from legal
from other external
Yeah.
people.
And the courts for the family law courts. And,
So we're working through things on our own, and it's a really great. I actually feel it's the divorce is not a negative divorce. It feels quite positive. We both are happy with how we're treating each other with respect, and I feel from my point of view I'm getting just about everything I ask for.
And do you think he's feeling the same way?
And the same. So there's mutual giving and taking, there's mutual giving respect and allowing the other person to have what they need. The unexpected thing from this was I was able to keep it private but sustain my business and rebuild myself at the same time.
Yeah, you made a conscious decision to do it very discreetly.
Yes.
And not make a big deal for anybody's
Yep.
reason that you're going through a separation.
You know, honestly, going through this and having a business was pretty scary. I was in a lot of shock and a lot of terror that I wouldn't be able to sustain my business. So the one source of unbiased advice, I didn't feel the need to ask for advice from a variety of people who weren't really qualified to give me their opinion.
Yeah, and that's where that wing girl, you're able to tap in and something comes up unexpectedly.
Yep.
And you'll be able to, just this thing. It's not a session, it's just a chat. I need that support, that wing girl support.
The way I handled my divorce, I wasn't a burden on my family. So, which was great because my family has other, life situations, and it was nice to know that I wasn't another burden on them.
Okay. So how are things now?
So now I feel very much, I'm confident in who I am. I feel I've, shown through the steps I've taken, the intensive work I've done on myself, that I've actually changed the perception of what a divorce could look like. I feel quite proud with the level of investment I've taken to rebuild myself. I am balanced. I have a really, really great relationships with my son and my ex-husband and my family. And actually, in a very short amount of time, I've allowed myself to move through the different stages, and I am now open, hopeful, and have the ability to move into a new relationship.
You think you're ready?
I feel I'm ready.
Wonderful. And that's 8 months.
I feel...
When did you think you were ready?
Look, I would say leading up to Christmas, I was starting to embrace love again, listen to love songs, envision who my life partner would be, and get very clear on the next partner of what traits I needed in that relationship and what I was willing to accept and not accept. And in getting really clear with that, I believe I manifested the man of my dreams. And I do feel ready. It's about the evolution of where I've come to, and not necessarily time. Some people have a judgment in how long you need to wait, and it's a waiting, and I don't believe in waiting, I believe in action. So the actions I've taken, the intensive investment of hours and personal work, reinvesting in myself, has really moved me through the stages quite quickly, and I'm now confident and able to step into a new relationship because I feel ready, and it's something that's quite powerful.
So you're empowered. Is that what you're saying?
Well, before working with you, I'd barricaded myself in my home.
What do you mean by that? Because you were running a business.
I was running my business from home, and I had physically barricaded my office to protect my business, because I was 110% in my business, and my relationship was falling apart, I'd physically barricaded the office, as in cornered off my area to protect my business.
From what?
Well, from the judgment of my ex-husband.
Right. So I thought you meant externally from the world. You meant within your marriage.
No, from within the home. So now my home is cleared out, great energy. I've got life in there. There's a relaxed feeling. I feel at home and my business is in flow. I think for me, this has been an amazing journey, and I would absolutely say that if it wasn't for you, I would not be where I am now. I'm so grateful by meeting you when I did. Timing was perfect. And the level of work I've done, I absolutely am a different person now too, which has allowed me to step up in many areas. I have stepped into femininity, I have owned my values, and now I'm using the knowledge that I've learnt through the program to help my clients.
That's wonderful.
So it's incredible, it's totally worth it. I will definitely be continuing because it's a life journey for me.
So you're going to take on the next program as well?
For sure.
How wonderful. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
It's really nice to see how things have evolved for you in the last few months, and hope you all enjoyed that chat. We'll speak to you soon. Thank you.